back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So I'm here today to do a series review for you. I have read 4 books, they're all part of the same series. I had no intention of picking this series up, it just kind of happened and I fell in love with it. I am so excited to tell you about this series because there are 4 books out, there's going to be a 5th one coming out later this year and it's great, like so good. I love it, I love it, I love it. So what is the series? The series is this series, the Splitworlds series by Emma Newman, which has 4 books. The first one is Between Two Thorns, the next is Any Other Name, the third is All Is Fair, and the 4th one is A Little Knowledge. Now, I picked up the first one on audiobook. I was kind of in the mood for a light-hearted, more fun audiobook, and I wanted one that was narrated by a good narrator, so I found Emma Newman. I knew that I liked Emma Newman because I'd listened to her podcast before, Tea in Jeopardy, so I decided I would read some of her books because she narrated them herself and I always enjoy when the author does that. So I started listening to this one, Between Two Thorns, and my goodness, I started getting hooked in straight away. It's so good. It's about a young woman called Kathy, and Kathy lives in the mundane world, which is the human, normal world that we all live in, and she is in hiding from her family. Her family are part of a very secretive group who are under the influence of Fave. Basically, they have magic and they are kind of indebted to a Fave lord, and so they live in this very bizarre kind of in-between world called the Nether, and in the Nether it's basically like time is stuck. Time is stuck in this sort of Victorian-esque society where women are looked down upon, men are in control. There's a lot of pressure, social pressure to kind of stay and conform to how things are, and basically Kathy doesn't like that. So instead of staying in the world of the Nether and conforming to what her parents want, she leaves the Nether and she goes into Mundanus, which is the mundane world, and she decides she's going to live there. So she goes into hiding from her family, and that's where we pick up her story. We are also following a couple of other characters. We follow a man named Max who is an arbiter. Arbiters are kind of essentially like police in this world. They police the Fae, get involved when there's magical, mysterious things going on. Usually it's to do with if the Fae come into Mundanus and mess around with humans. That's when arbiters will get involved and try and fix things and make sure that no one in the human world is affected by the terrible things that the Fae do. It's a very dark and twisted series and quite manipulative. The Fae themselves are quite manipulative, and also the Fae Lords are extremely manipulative, so it's a really interesting mix. Basically, the concept is that we have these split worlds where Mundanus is one, the Nether is another, and then we have the world of Exilium, which is where the Fae Lords themselves are, I would say, living, but basically they're trapped there. They cannot leave there because of magical divides that sorcerers put in place many hundreds of years ago. And so we have 3 split worlds that we're following, and we follow our characters through all of these worlds at various points in the story. The other main character who we're following is a man named Sam. Sam is a regular human. He has no idea that fairies and things are real. He does not know any of this stuff, but he unfortunately is in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he gets involved in a mysterious, terrible plot that he could never have anticipated that ends up pretty much ruining his life and taking a terrible toll on everything that he has done and worked for and loved up to this point in his life. So poor old Sam gets a raw end of the deal, although Kathy and Max also have a fairly raw end of the deal. I would say that this book for me was the introduction. It was the beginning of this fantastic series. I read this, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really fun, light read, and I was really excited by the concept of these 3 split worlds, and I liked Kathy as a character, but I didn't love her. I thought she was fun, but I didn't think she had a lot of backbone. I didn't think she really stood up for herself. Although she has escaped and she's trying to stay away from these people, I didn't feel like she really kind of defined who she was in this book. However, by the time book 2 came around, I flipping loved her. She started to get great and she started to really take control of her life, and I really, really enjoyed her character progression as the story went on. I think in this book we have a few horrible scenes, so there is stuff like assault and rape throughout all of these books, but particularly this one, and I think she dealt with it incredibly well in this book, and she kind of turned things around from how they could have made her into a victim to make her into a stronger person and make her a kind of more confident person. And I really loved her survivor story, I suppose, her victory story, I guess it is. She's just a great character in this book, and she starts to really stand up for herself and others that she cares about, and I loved seeing that. Alongside that, I would say that the other two characters also get developed in this one, but the third book is really where all of the characters just became my absolute all-time favourite characters. I fell head over heels in love with Sam and Max and Kathy, and even kind of Will, who is a character who comes in a bit later. I kind of like and hate him by this point in the series. Will is one of those characters who tries to do good and ends up just failing so much because he's trying to be good for the wrong reasons, and he's trying to do stuff for the wrong reasons, and my god, Will, I hated you. There were times where I wanted Will to just get out of the story. But I think the great thing about this is that although my love for Kathy and the other characters grew over time, my hatred for Will also grew over time, and so by the end of this book I was completely enamoured with the series. I was completely in love with the characters and the plot. There's so much going on in here. I would say it's a mystery at the beginning, and then things just start to get more and more interesting. The world opens up more. There's so many threads that you're keeping track of. They're not long books. I think they're about 300-400 pages. There's so much going on. So much is packed into these stories. We have sorcerers, we have the Fae, we have humans, we have people who are kind of twisted and stuck between all of these things. So humans who've been abducted and are no longer innocents. We've got the arbiters who have this strange thing where their soul is separate from them, so they don't feel emotions. We even have the elemental court who comes in this book and the fourth book a lot more, and the elemental court is a whole other ball game, and I was just mind blown when stuff started to happen with them. And then you've got the Fey Lords themselves, and just so much is going on. They have fairies and stuff as well. I'm not a fairy lover, I'll be honest. I don't love the idea of fairies in books. I think it's kind of a little bit twee and a little bit childlike sometimes, but the fairies in this are twisted and manipulative and so evil and cunning and conniving, and I just love that. I think the way that they went around trying to trick people into doing things, being sneaky and trying to double-cross people, I just really like that, and I think that it was done very, very well, so that a lot of the plot twists in this I didn't see coming, and a lot of the things that she revealed I thought were revealed totally well, and just captivated me the whole way through. So really, really loved this third book. It could have finished there, but she decided she was going to carry on with the series, so these three first books actually came out a few years ago, whereas the fourth book, A Little Knowledge, came out in 2016, and the fifth book is coming out this year. This book, I honestly am so happy that she continued on with the series, because although I think the third one did wrap up a lot, there was still a lot that could still be explored massively, and there were hints of things that could come if she wanted to carry it on, which so much get expanded in this book. This book was my favourite in the series, because by this point I was just hooked into it. I absolutely loved the world, I absolutely loved the characters and the plot and the pacing and the way that she narrated the stories as well. I loved that. And I just thought, oh my goodness, I can't not keep reading them. I don't usually read series back to back to back, but this series I just had to. And I was just fascinated with every plot twist and fascinated by the whole concept of these three worlds, and there's so much being opened up in every book, but I never felt like I couldn't keep control of it all and I couldn't remember everything and everyone. So if you're looking for a fantastic urban fantasy / fantasy of manners / feminism heavy series, I think this series is the one. I loved the way that it approached feminism in this book particularly. Feminism is something that I don't see very much in fantasy, I'm going to be honest, but this book does it incredibly well, and a lot of the ideas within this book I agreed with and I loved and I supported and I thought were handled really excellently, and I would recommend. So I would say this whole series is fantastic. I will say that I think they get better from the first book to this one. This one was definitely leagues ahead of the first book in terms of my enjoyment level. I just loved this one, and by the end I just had to give this 5 stars. I gave the middle 2 4 stars, and the first one I think got 3.5, so that gives you an idea of where they fell. But overall, the series as a whole so far, it's one of my favourite series of all time, and that's just because of how this book has tied all of them together so well, and it's firmly placed her into like my favourites authors spot. So I would even go so far as to say that Emma Newman has quickly become maybe second place on my female SFF authors favourites. Like, I would say she's second place. The only person who does characters better than her for me is Robin Hobb, but because what she does above Gail Carriger or Marie Brennan, who are like other favourites of mine, is that she makes me both love characters and also hate characters with a real raw passion. I don't often hate characters. I usually like them and I sometimes love them, but I don't often hate them, and my goodness, I hate some of the characters in this, and that's a good thing, because if it's making that sort of emotion come out of me, it's doing something right, and I just love that she can do that. So I would hugely recommend this series, and I have already read Planetfall by her, so there will be another review coming for that one, which is her science fiction series, and I'm going to be reading After Atlas very soon, which is a companion to Planetfall, so expect a review of those two coming soon. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you all so much for watching. Do let me know if you've read them, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.